Good evening. Prior to the reorganization meeting, I need council members Dave Majernik, Jerry Purcell, Steve Schlarch, and Judge Doyle over there to be sworn in. Where do you want them, Judge?
Right up front there is fine, wherever you think is appropriate.
Gentlemen, you need to rise.
I would get down.
Down there.
Do you want to do it one at a time or all together?
Do them all three together.
Okay.
One at a time, come on. One at a time. All three of you can get down, do one at a time.
Who's running this?
You just asked me before we walked out. I told you till it got ugly, and it got ugly.
Yeah, that's okay.
Mr. Purcell?
Judge.
How are you, sir?
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too. All right, raise your right hand. Oh, your wife want to come up? With her hands up. See, that's the way it's supposed to be done. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
Jerry Purcell,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the Commonwealth,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and the Code of the Borough of Plum,
the Code of the Borough of Plum.
and that I will discharge those duties of that office with fidelity.
I will discharge those duties of the office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Steve? I state your name.
Steve Schlock,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and the Code of Plum Borough,
and the Code of Plum Boro.
and I will discharge these duties
And will discharge these duties
of this office with fidelity.
of this office with fidelity.
Congratulations, Council.
Thanks, Mike.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, David Majernik,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and
the
defend
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the Commonwealth,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and the Code of the Borough of Plum,
and the Code of the Borough of Plum,
and that I will discharge these duties
and that I will discharge these duties
of this office with fidelity.
of this office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
At this time, I'd like you all to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Sbosley.
Mr. Dern.
Here.
Mr. Majernik.
Here.
Mr. Purcell.
Here.
Mr. Schlock.
Here.
Mr. Seitz.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Schlegel.
Here. At this time, I'd like to call for nominations for council president.
I'd like to nominate Paul Dern for council president.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this time, I'd like to call for nominations for council vice president.
I'd like to nominate Mr. David Seitz, please.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Mr. Dern, you got it.
Okay, at this time, we do have an open seat from Mr. Doyle, who resigned and became the magistrate. So at this time, I'd like to open up the floor to have a nomination to fill that expired two-year term.
I'll nominate Vicky Rosso.
I have a nomination for Vicky Rossford. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Rossler, please come up. Mr. Doyle, if you would swear her in, please.
Certainly.
We'll take my robe off. I state your name.
I, Daisy Rosler,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and the Code of the Borough of Plum.
and the Code of the Borough of Plum,
And that I will discharge these duties of this office with fidelity.
and I will discharge these duties of this office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Okay, at this time, we have the committees, so I'd like to read those off so we can make a public record of it. Finance Committee, Mr. Schlock, you will be in charge of that, along with Mr. Seitz and Mr. Taylor. Personnel, Mr. Seitz, you will chair that with Mr. Majernik and Ms. Rossler. Planning and Economic Development, Mr. Majernik, you will chair that, along with Mr. Schlock and Mr. Seitz. Public Safety, Ms. Rossler, you will chair that, along with Mr. Purcell and Mr. Schlock. Parks and Rec, Mr. Taylor, you will chair that, along with Mr. Purcell and Mr. Majernik. And Roads, Equipment, and Grounds, Mr. Purcell, you will chair that, along with Mr. Taylor and Ms. Rossler. And the Intergovernmental Committee right now will be myself and Ms. Rossler. So moving along, we need to appoint the new borough officials, and I ask for the secretary manager. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Daisy Rosler.
I have Mr. Sabosley's name on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Mr. Sabosley, congratulations, sir. Okay, second would be the borough solicitor. I need a nomination to fill that position, please.
I nominate the office of Bruce Dyson.
I have the nomination on the floor of Mr. Bruce Dyson Associates. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Schlock. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. And I have for the borough engineer.
I nominate KU Resources.
I have a nomination on the floor, KU Resources. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do I have any discussion? All those in favor? KU, you are in as the borough engineer. That concludes the reorganization meeting. We will now move right into the session to have the two public hearings.
Okay, there are two public hearings scheduled on our agenda tonight. Both of these were publicly noticed as required. The first public hearing has to do with Oakmont Country Club's conditional use application 05-23, a request from the country club for the incidental use of golf amenities for the improvements of the golf range, parking, and construction of a new personal building, paddle and skeet hut, and storage building. Excuse me. This involves tax parcel 532-285, and the application is available for inspection and public view in the borough office. Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of this application? Step up to the podium and as you speak, announce your name and tell us your involvement in the hearing.
Sure thing. So my name is David Del Sandro. I'm representing Oakmont Country Club.
Can you give me your name again? Spell your last name, David.
David's first name, last name Del Sandro, DELSANDRO.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Put your yellow button.
It's the red light's on.
If you're good,
You're good.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, Dave Del Sandro, representing Oakmont Country Club. First and foremost, hope everybody, their family had a good holiday. Back at it today after the first of the year. So with that being said, thank you for the opportunity to present and come before you guys this evening. We look forward to working with the borough on a really exciting project. With that, I'll turn it over to our lead engineer, Mr. John Frederick from CEC Engineers. Thank you for your time tonight, gentlemen and ladies.
Again, good evening. John Frederick, FRYDRYCH with Civil and Environmental Consultants. Tonight we're reviewing the conditional use 05-23. Applications were submitted to Borough of Plum mid-October under both the conditional use and land development application. So this runs concurrently with SP-05-23 as well. Both were accepted by the Planning Commission on November 20th. Similar plans were also submitted just for reference to the Borough of Oakmont because the project does cross the borough boundary and crosses into the Presbyterian Senior Care property as part of the project, so that's being reviewed simultaneously with the information submitted to Plum Boro. Just by way of some history and some background, we previously presented plans years ago for development on the same piece of property, which included lodging as part of the existing conditions, and that went through a conditional use process as well, and those were located just north of the clubhouse and the pro shop areas. Earlier last year, for those that were sitting here, we went through the process and obtained approval for a gatehouse adjacent to Holton Road. That project has been placed on hold and is not moving forward at this time, but just providing some reference in regard to what has been presented and approved in the past. We will likely seek reapproval of that application in the near term as well. The club decided to put that on hold and started to work with a kind of a master planning effort. First, we started to work with the renovation of the golf performance building located at the south end of the range project. And just for reference on the screen is the existing condition plan of the project limits. This is the western part of the property within the borough of Plum at about 530 acres total. But what you see is the existing conditions. But again, we presented the golf performance building to the Borough of Oakmont and received approval in October of 2022. Similar to the gatehouse, that project was placed on hold. The club, in conjunction with the United States Golf Association, or the USGA, started to do a more in-depth master planning of the project, which included a renovation and an improvement of the overall range project located on the western side of the property as well. And again, as the support from the USGA is imperative to the project itself, again, hosting a number of the US Opens in the past, but also US Opens that are scheduled for 2025, 2033, 2042, and in 2049, as well as the Women's Open in 2028 and 2038. So it's imperative that the USGA is supportive of the project as well, and so noted. Stepping back mid-year, we started to master plan the golf range project for renovations of the entire range project, the facilities at the north end of the project, and the reestablishment of the golf performance building, which is currently located at the south end of the project. So at the same time, it became very apparent that the work in cooperation with Presbyterian Senior Care was an important and vital component of the project itself. The club and Presby share common boundaries and work cooperatively with each other as the opens come and go in regard to site access, site parking, and site circulation. So by way of agreements, the club and Presby have worked to resolve site parking, site circulation, site access, and became mutually beneficial to both parties in regard to the improvements that we will be reviewing this evening. So parking improvements are planned for both projects and result in improved parking counts on both the site circulation aspect, the overall patron and visitor parking for both properties, as well as enhancements to the golf range and the improvements associated with the skeet house, the paddle courts, and the golf performance building. So again, jumping to, Sam, if you could go to, I think sheet 10, it's the C200 sheet, just for reference to show some of the improvements scheduled, and also representing the conditional use portion of this. The amenities that we've been discussing are basically the supplemental to the primary use being the golf course itself, hence the need for the conditional use application process. So again, we've submitted plans of about 128 sheets, cover sheets, notations, existing conditions, the demolition and removals plans, 2D site plans, and again, that's the overall project site plan, which includes, so you're looking at, to the left is to the north, Holton Road is to the right. So the Holton Road runs east and west. The south end of the project is the Presbyterian Senior Care Project, and then parking improvements. So they, kind of the orange shaded areas are the parking improvements to the south, and those associated with the Presbyterian Senior Care Project. And then the road that meanders northward, which is, as Sam is showing there, that runs to the north end of the project, where the improvements are scheduled for, which include the building the paddle courts, the ski house, the warehouse improvements, as well as the golf performance building. Just in general, the golf features, the main range is scheduled to be about 31,000 square feet. The main south tee improvement, 79,000 square feet. The south practice green, about 6,200 square feet. The south short game area, about 26,000 square feet. The north end back tee, 30,000 square feet. The north short game area, 20,000 square feet. The north practice green, about 4,800 square feet. The golf performance building is about 5,600 square feet, which includes the tee area and the driving towards the south end of the range. The skeet building, about 1,200 square feet. The paddle building with 4 paddle courts adjacent, about 2,100 square feet, and a new storage building for grounds and maintenance, about 6,500 square feet. As reported, our plans, reports, and applications were submitted to the Borough October 13th, accepted November 20th. We did receive comment and review letters from KU Resources dated November 20th. We have responded to those. We presented our plans to the Planning Commission at the December 18th meeting and received favorable recommendations from the Planning Commission. We did submit 2 specific waivers for the project, which were identified and discussed with the Planning Commission at the last meeting. One being the borough requires double stripe parking stalls, and we did ask for a waiver to go to a single stripe parking stall. Through discussions, it was recommended by the Planning Commission that the south end of the project would be allowed, or the recommendation would be to allow the single striping to adhere to the existing conditions, and those also bound by the properties on the adjoining Presbyterian Senior Care. But they did recommend that we provide double striping for all new parking areas at the north end of the project, where the new buildings and new parking facilities would be located. The second was a waiver for the trip generation analyses. Again, discussed in regard to these are replications or replacements of existing conditions, but enhancements of those facilities. So again, because it is a private club, there was not an anticipated parking demand or a trip generation warranted for the project, which the Planning Commission did recommend and agree with that conclusion. The project, again, is planned to include parking improvements both on the Presby property, but also the property within the Borough of Plum on the Oakmont Country Club property, with an addition of about 72 parking spaces associated with the improvements shown here this evening. We've addressed stormwater conditions in regard to both Oakmont and Plum's ordinances, as well as working with the Allegheny County Conservation District. We have submitted a general permit for the MPDS process, which is currently in review, which includes the management of 7 storm events, the 1-year up through the 100-year storm event. Again, concluding with the project schedule, the project is currently out to bid. Contract and discussions with the representative of the contractors would occur throughout February. Construction is likely and hopeful to start early to mid-March with a completion date December 31st of this year, 2024, all in anticipation of the U.S. Open. using the new improved golfing range for the June 2025 event. Work on the Presby property will run concurrently starting around March and ending in July of this year. I think that's it. Again, if there's any questions, if you could go to a few sheets forward to see, I think it's 207. One more.
That's it from your right side.
That one there. That is the improvements associated basically with the conditional use, the amenities associated with the golf course itself. Again, at the top left is the improvements to the warehouse facility. The central long rectangle is the paddle court facility with the 4 paddle courts just to the west or above the planned paddle court building. And then the top right, the smaller footprint, is the skeet house. The bottom, if you want to pan down a little bit, the bottom building to the right is the golf performance building with the hitting bays facing in the southern direction. And then the existing buildings to the left, the existing warehousing and storage areas operated by the grounds personnel. If there's any other questions, but again, that concludes the information relative to CU-05-23.
I just have one question.
Yes.
It really doesn't have much to do with all this. I'm just curious as to how much of the course itself is in Plum. Yeah, I can ask that, and I don't know if don't.
The property is 528 acres in Plum. So the golf course itself is primarily in the borough of Plum.
Okay, anybody else on council have questions for the applicant? Anybody in the public wish to comment on the testimony that's been presented? Seeing no hands, I would request that the hearing be closed on motion and testimony be closed for this evening. Is there a motion to that effect?
Yes. I'll second it.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Moving on the agenda, we have another application, conditional use 06-23. An application filed by Clark Auto Sales and Service to request from the zoning ZB properties for conditional use approval of used vehicle sales establishment at 2822 Golden Mill Highway. This is tax parcel 1239 G190. The property is zoned highway commercial, and it also has been properly advertised for tonight's public hearing. I have been informed by staff that the applicant has requested a continuance of this public hearing so that they can prepare their testimony. And I will state for the record that barring objection, the hearing will be continued until rescheduled when testimony is available.
Is there anyone here from representing? Okay. So my understanding is that this project has not made it through the Planning Commission yet. You're still out at the Planning Commission level?
That's correct. They've requested the table.
Right. So we are obligated by law, by the municipality's planning code, to start a public hearing within 60 days of your application. By opening this, we accomplish that goal. Typically what happens here is until you've made it through the Planning Commission, we'll open this, we'll take no testimony, we'll close it until we have a recommendation from Planning Commission. So that's what staff is recommending to council tonight.
Okay. We're done.
Sounds good.
I think the record is closed.
We're going to continue this hearing until a later date.
Okay, I'll entertain, or Mr. Dern will entertain a motion to continue the hearing.
So I need a motion to continue this hearing. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries.
So when the hearing is continued, we'll place an advertisement on our website, and probably, Sam, possibly next month?
That's correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we're going to move right into the scheduled council meeting work session. Mr. Sabosley, if you would, please.
Okay. So our first item tonight under Planning and Economic Development is the Russo subdivision. Last month, the Russo subdivision was accepted by council as complete. The project has been working its way back and forth with our engineer toward approval. Council or staff is recommending to council that the Russo subdivision, which is lot and block 852C 389, known as subdivision FSC 0423, be put on the agenda for next month. This project takes a large lot and carves out the existing area where the house is. I think this is an estate issue that is going on and working its way toward being solved here. But according to the resolution that was prepared by council, there are a few items left in KU Resources compliance letter dated December 12th. And in the end, we look for a copy of the recorded subdivision. So we're recommending that it be put on the agenda for next Monday night.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, it will be on the agenda.
Second item is form architecture resolution. Form architecture is a project that's been going on since, believe it or not, 2014. So almost 10 years here. So Form architecture, Form owns a property, if you're familiar with East Oakmont, next to the S&T Bank on Halton Road. There is a house. In 2014, they were granted a use variance to convert to a business. That business has been going back through our zoning hearing board and planning commission for the longest of times. They finally received their approval about 2 years ago, and council gave them final approval on their land development. And after they got their approval, they wanted to make changes. So it's been dragging on a little more. So same as the first item, there are a few more items on this one. Give me 1 second. On the resolution prepared by staff, there are some outstanding items, 15 items to be accurate with that, that need to be put into compliance. Most of these are drafting issues and drafting errors that were found on the drawings submitted by the applicant. But this has been reviewed by the borough engineer, and once those items are met, the plan can be approved. So we're asking council to put this on their agenda for Monday night.
Okay, any questions? Any discussion? Okay, it'll be on the agenda.
Very good. Item number 3 under Planning and Economic Development is Parkside Estates Phase 1. Parkside Estates is a 3-phase residential development located on New Texas Road, across from the Boyce Park basketball courts, dog park, etc. Parkside Estates came before council for approval back in part of William Drive. I think there's approximately 40 residential units in Phase 1. We've been working with the developer to get the language correct in the deed of dedication. We're working with our solicitor's office to go through that right now, but this is ready for, they're offering it for dedication, and staff is recommending that it be placed on the agenda for Monday night for acceptance.
Any questions or discussion?
Dave, how many is the total amount of units in that place?
Sam?
I believe it's 82, around 82, 40, 20, and 20. But I can get you a better answer tomorrow.
And that the top cul-de-sac is going to stay a cul-de-sac, right? It's not going to be a throughway, is that?
Right, so phase one, comes in straight. It's hard to explain, but phase 1 and 2 are in the lower part. Phase 3 is if you come in and make a left on William Drive, it goes up toward the top, up near Salzburg Road. But there will still be a cul-de-sac there, yes.
And just to clarify, once we accept this, the borough is responsible for maintaining all the streets and stormwater.
Correct. So in this case, the developer is not offering the storm pond for dedication. So the HOA will maintain the storm pond. We will maintain the inlets and the storm pipes within the right-of-way.
Any more discussion? Okay, it'll be an agenda item.
Moving to personnel and management, boards and commission appointments. So typically, council will make appointments to boards and commissions, planning commission, zoning hearing board, library board. That's an executive session item, and those items will be addressed and those appointments made at the regular meeting next Monday.
Okay, and that will be an agenda item.
Item number 2 is a contract with Buchanan, Ingersoll, and Rooney. That is an executive session item as well. Their council is considering the extension of a contract with Buchanan, Ingersoll for consulting services.
Okay, that'll be on the agenda.
Item number 3 is what we see almost every month. Our borough actuary has recommended a cost of living increase for a police officer. Like I said, this is almost a routine thing that we get. The item is in your packet, and this is just sort of a housekeeping item.
Any discussion, questions? Okay, that'll be on the agenda.
Item number 4 under personnel and management is an executive session item to discuss the proposed collective bargaining agreement with the Department of Public Works. Department of Public Works contract ended on December 31st. The borough has been negotiating a new contract with them for a number of weeks here, and we hope that this item will be placed on the agenda for Monday for final vote.
Any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, that'll be on the agenda.
One item that does not appear on your agenda tonight, which also is an executive session item. As you heard at the beginning of the meeting, my appointment as borough manager, I have submitted an employment proposal, employment contract to council, and they will consider that an executive session and hopefully put that on the agenda for next Monday's meeting.
Any discussion, questions, comments? Okay, that'll be an agenda item.
We move to public safety, the civil service list certification. We've gone through, well, let me back up. In 2023, the police department had a number of officers retire, and our manpower is lower than that it should be. So during the budget process, council appropriated the funds to hire 3 additional police officers. They're not new officers. They're taking the place of those who have resigned or retired. And there's 1 additional new police officer that will be brought on board in 2024. So there has been some police testing done already in conjunction with the Turtle Creek Valley COG. And tomorrow the police department, the chief, and some retired chiefs will do the oral interview part of the hiring process. The Civil Service Commission is due to meet on Thursday, and we expect them to certify a list of candidates in order. They'll rank those in order. I think there's 17 candidates. And the agenda item for council will be to consider the recommendation of the Civil Service Commission to accept the list, the certified list that we will work on for hiring police officers.
Any questions, comments, discussion? Okay, that'll be an agenda item.
We currently have nothing for Parks and Recreation and nothing for Finance, Roads, Equipment, and Grounds. As we do every January, we have the 2024 street paving program to consider. The paving program is paid by a combination of liquid fuels funds and street improvement funds. If you go back through the last 2 years, council has appropriated about $1 million for the street paving program. Last year, I'm going to say the number came in, the bid amount came in at just a little over $1 million. And the year before, it was a little bit under 900,000. So staff and the borough engineer have proposed a list of streets to be paved in 2024. That list is in your packet. All we're asking for right now is the permission to advertise the bids, and we will work with the borough engineer to secure bids for council's consideration at the February meeting.
Any discussion? Questions? That'll be an agenda item then.
Next item is also a bid item. The borough has moved out of its old building at 4575 New Texas Road, and we've been out of that building completely for about 10 months. The police department was the last group to move up here. Staff has been working over the last year to get everything out of that building. That has been accomplished. The utilities are off down there. There's nothing left in that building. We did start identification and testing for asbestos in the buildings down there. That report came back to us. There's about 50 square feet of asbestos in one of the restrooms. It was in the glue that was holding the mirror on the wall there. So had we not torn the mirror off the wall, we would not have found that. So we have secured a licensed contractor to remove that asbestos, and that will be done probably in the next 60 days. And we're just asking the council allow us, when the time comes, to authorize the advertisement of bids for this contract. The borough did receive in 2022/23 a grant for $250,000 to demolish that. So we're hoping the bids come in under that, and that would be completely covered by the grant funds.
Questions or comments? Discussion?
Is this to remove the asbestos or demolish the whole building?
So the $250,000 is to demolish the existing, the old borough building, the old EMS building, the old Public Works building.
Demolish.
Demolish, yes.
All of which is necessary to clear the property so we can hopefully
Get it redeveloped?
some sort of development going on there.
Are we eventually to sell that property?
No, I think
We're going to develop.
yeah.
And Public Works is still there? No, they're gone.
Public Works is here.
Oh, everyone's gone.
They're gone.
They've been gone, yeah.
The only thing we sold down there is the,
I don't think so.
municipal authority still there.
The leaf collections.
Yeah, so there are some challenges, with us moving out of there still. One of them is that the old Public Works building does still have some equipment in it. We do have salt in the salt bins down there. So last year being a year with almost no snow, we are in a joint contract with the South Hills Council of Governments, and as part of that, we get a reduced rate. There are 50, 60 communities that bid this together, but you have to commit to buying so much salt. So our bins are filled to the brim, and we have some down at that site, which we normally don't do. So hopefully we have some snow this year, and we can get rid of some of that salt. Yeah, there are some challenges there, but once we get past that, we want to go out to bid for the demolition.
We got grant money for that also.
Yeah, $250,000.
Dave, if I could, on the asbestos removal, is that covered by the grant or?
No. We actually, we got a price about $1,250 just to remove that. So, yeah, it might qualify. The problem is the requirements of the grant, require a contractor to meet certain requirements and to pay, the contract will be over $25,000. So if we included that in the grant, we'd be paying inflated funds to that contractor to remove that. So it's in our best interest not to do that. Yes.
Any further discussion?
I just have another question, just so I understand. So the municipal authority is still down there?
Yes,
But we're gonna not demolish that building?
correct.
The other building?
They own that.
They're still in there.
Okay.
I'll bring you up to speed on everything.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, agenda item.
The last item is a proposal for traffic engineering services. In 2023, the borough secured over $300,000 in Green Light Go grant funds from the state of Pennsylvania. These funds are used to do improvements at traffic intersections. We had identified 2 traffic intersections that need improvement. The first is at Halton Road at the Sheets in East Oakmont. As you approach that intersection from, as you come over the turnpike and come up to that intersection, when that intersection was designed or redesigned when the Sheets was built, there's a small traffic island on the right, and that traffic island holds a pole with walk, no walk, and that pole probably gets hit 2 to 3 times a year easy. So it's constantly being hit. So we worked with PennDOT on an application that would remove that traffic island and move the signal head to the side there. So that's one of the 2 projects. The second project is at the intersection of Coxcomb Hill Road and Ramparts Boulevard. The traffic light at that intersection is about 30 years old and does not meet the current regulations of PennDOT. The grant for that intersection was it was part of the $300,000, but most of our grant funds are tied up at that intersection, and we will replace the mast arms and the traffic signals and traffic controller at that intersection with the grant funds.
Okay, any discussion, comments? Okay, that'll be an agenda item. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Does anybody in the citizens want to make any comments on anything? Any discussion? Okay. We're finished.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn? I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.